Our topic for today is going to be surface area of cylinders, section 9.3. Our central question is, how can you find the surface area of a cylinder? How is it similar to finding surface area of other 3D figures? I want you to think about what we did when we found the surface area of a triangular prism. We took the area of the two bases, which were triangles, and then we added one rectangle plus the second rectangle plus a third rectangle. When we did the surface area of a rectangular prism, we found the area of the two sides plus the area of the front and back plus the area of the top and bottom. When we did a pyramid, it was the same idea. We took the area of the base, which was sometimes a square, and then we added up the four triangles. Or we took the surface area of the triangular base plus the three triangles. This is going to be kind of the same idea, except we're going to be working with a cylinder this time. Oh, just a side note, make sure right now that you have both your first and last name on your notes and the date, because the notes will be collected at the end of class. Okay, some vocabulary for you to fill out. A cylinder is a 3D figure with two round flat bases and one curved side. The next vocabulary word are lateral faces. Those are just the side faces on a 3D figure, so not the bases. Go ahead and write those both down. Okay, that should have been enough time for you to write down the vocabulary. Looking at the key idea, the surface area S, or SA as we usually call it, of a cylinder is the sum of the areas of the bases and the lateral surface. Now when we look at the bases, each base is a circle. And we know how to find the area of a circle. So I want you in your circle, inside each circle, I want you to make sure and write pi r squared, because that would be the area of each of those two circles, pi r squared. So we have two circles, and then we have a rectangle. Now, it would be really easy to say, well, isn't that just length times width? For a regular rectangle, yes. But because this rectangle, this edge right here, if we flatten it out, it obviously makes a rectangle. But when we put it back together, it's basically this part of the circle right here. Which, what we're doing is we're going around a circle. Now, what do we call that when we go around a circle? That's called, make sure you write this in, that's called circumference. I totally just spelled that wrong. Hold on. There. That is circumference. So this right here, that's crust equals pi dou, or 2 pi r. So that's why our formula right here, this is the formula for a cylinder. We have 2 pi r squared. That's the bases. Okay, each base is pi r squared, and there's two of them. Now, 2 pi r, that's 2 pi r. That basically is the length, or the base of our rectangle. And then if we're trying to find the area of a rectangle, then we do base times height, so times height. So that's where the h comes from. So this right here is that. That's the circumference. And then we multiply it times the height. That's basically base times height right there. But like I said, because that makes up a circle, that distance around a circle, that's why we don't just use base times height or length times width. The base happens to be a circumference. So again, why do we use 2 pi r h for the rectangular area of a cylinder's net? Because 2 pi r represents the base because it goes around a circle, and then times the height. Okay, go ahead and write down the steps. It's just to the left of this box, of the key idea box. And I want you to draw a circle around this part of the formula and a square around that. When you're writing this, be very careful. Make sure that you're writing that as r squared. That means it's a little 2 above the r, but the ones out front, those are just regular sized 2. R squared means r times r. And these are numbered wrong. This should be number 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that should have been enough time by now. Let's go ahead and go to example 1. Once you know the formula, it's not really going to be any different than what we've done until now. You just have to be very careful about what r squared means, and that you're making sure you're using r and not diameter. So what you might want to do, what I would recommend doing, is in the questions column, just as a reminder, draw a circle, and then your center, and draw a line all the way across. Label that as diameter. And then just from here to here, that's r. Okay, you could also draw it going this way. That's r. Halfway across is r. Okay, so step 1 is the formula. So we're going to put SA equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Okay, step 2, we're going to substitute. If you need to also, in your questions column right below this, put pi equals 3.14. A lot of you already have that memorized, but some of you still don't, so make sure to write that in. So put 2 times 3.14 times r, which in this case is 4 squared, plus 2, and then instead of pi, I'm going to put 3.14, and then put the radius, it's the same radius, is 4, and then the height, this would be h, this would be r, is 3. Okay, next, I'm going to solve each one individually. So in your calculator, go ahead and do 2 times 3.14 times 4 squared, and that's going to give you 100.05. 48. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and do the second part. 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 3. And we're going to get 75.36, and then we're just going to add that. And that should give us 175.84 millimeters squared. Now, if everybody doesn't have a calculator right now, I want everybody to get one, but at the end of class, I need everybody to put them back, and I need those double checked to see that only 2 are missing before anybody can leave the room. Make sure that gets done. So if you need to pause the video right now and everybody get one, go ahead and do that. All right, let's go to example 2 now. Same steps. We're going to start with step 1, which is the formula. So SA equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi RH. I'm going to draw a circle here, the rectangle here. Just like it made it a lot easier on a rectangular prism to label on the actual shape, let's go ahead and do that here. I'm going to label 6 as R. It only goes halfway across, so that is the radius. That means 9 is H. So let's rewrite it to substitute. SA equals 2 times 3.14 radius squared, 6 squared. That does not mean 6 times 2, that means 6 times 6. Plus 2, and then pi again is 3.14. Okay, the radius would be 6, and the height would be 9. Step 3, solve. Go ahead and do just this part right here in your calculator. It should have given you 226.08 plus, okay, now just this part. Should be 339.12. Now let's go ahead and add the 2. Make sure you're not shouting out any answers. Should be 565.2. Okay, so here let's go ahead and label this as R and this is H. These are all going to be exactly the same. The only thing that you're going to encounter that's different when you do these on your own is that sometimes it might say this. It might have this, and it's going to say 6. But because that goes all the way across, that would be diameter, so what you have to do is find the radius. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. I want everybody to go ahead and write the formula on their own. Okay, you should have SA equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi RH. Very similar, but this is r squared. This one's not, and this one has height. Okay, go ahead and substitute now. Okay, you should have had surface area equals 2 times 3.14 times the radius is 3 squared plus 2 times 3.14 times the radius of 3 times a height of 18. Okay, go ahead and do each one of these individually on your own. Okay, you should have gotten 56.52 here and 339.12 here. Go ahead and finish adding those if you didn't already. You should get 395.64 square centimeters. Okay, we have one last example here. It says, how much paper is used for the label on the can of peas? Okay, let's see. Keyword here, for the label. Now, the label goes on the surface of the can, so we're still talking about surface area here, but I want you to think about what part of the can is covered by the label. Remember, a cylinder is made up of two circles attached to a rectangle. Is this part, is the top of the can covered by the label? No. Is the bottom? No. This right here is pi r squared. This right here is pi r squared. This is the 2 pi r h. We don't need the pi r squared. We don't need that, and we don't need that. So our formula, in this case, would only be 2 pi r h. Make sure that you either include this picture in your notes or that you say don't include bases, which is the 2 pi r squared. Okay, we only want to know going around the cylinder, only the part that you touch with your hand when you're holding it, not the top and bottom. So this is the formula that we're going to use, 2 pi r squared h. Okay, from here on out, we're just going to substitute the same. We're going to put SA equals 2 times 3.14 times the radius, and the radius is 1, and the height is 2. Go ahead and do that calculation. You could just do 4 times 3.14. You should get surface area equals 12.56. Okay, what you're going to do now is we're going to watch a little YouTube video about how to find the surface area of a cylinder.
surface area of a cylinder. So first, let's start with the cylinder. And unlike the first video, I'm actually going to go through this problem. So a cylinder, let's say it has a radius of 10 and a height of 20. I'm going to give myself nice and easy numbers to work with. Now, if I were to cut my cylinder around the circles, so I'm going to make a cut here, around here. I'm going to make a cut around here, and then I'm going to have to cut, down the side. I'm going to end up with three shapes. I'm going to end up with a top, that's a circle. I'm going to end up with this middle section, which is a rectangle. And finally, I'm going to end up with the bottom, which is a circle. So I'm going to have to find the area of these three shapes. To find the area of a circle, it's simply pi r squared. So let's do that with a radius of 10. So we have area is equal to pi times 10 squared. Well, 10 squared is 100, so we have pi times 100. Pi times 100 is simply 314. So I'm going to write that volume in my circle. Now the volume of the bottom is going to be identical because they are identical circles, so I'm just going to write 314 here as well. Now the tricky part for finding the volume of a cylinder is finding the surface area of a cylinder. It's finding the area of this rectangle. Now this distance from here to here is the height. So in my example, I have a height of 20. This distance here is going to be the circumference because it wraps around the circle. And circumference is diameter times pi. Well, the diameter of this circle is 20. So I have 20 times pi. So if I pull up my calculator and I multiply 20 times pi, I'm going to get, I'm going to get 62.8, but let's do it again. 20 times 3.14, 62.8. So my circumference is 62.8. So to find the area of this rectangle is going to be the circumference times the height. And the circumference times the height, I have my circumference, I'm going to multiply it by my height of 20. And so this area is 1,256. Now, in my example, I didn't include a unit of measure, so the unit that I'm going to be using is just simply units. And this is units squared, as well as units squared here and units squared here. So my last piece to find the surface area of this shape is to add these three volumes together. So I have the area of the rectangle plus the area of the top plus the area of the bottom, and I get a surface area of 1,884 units squared. And it's units squared because we're talking about area, which is in 2 dimensions. There's also an equation for those people who prefer equations. The surface area of a cylinder is equal to 2 times pi r squared. So that represents the top and the bottom, the area of the top and the bottom, plus circumference, so that's diameter pi times the height. And that represents this rectangle. And so this equation could also be used.
Okay, going back to your notes, I want you to do this in the empty page next to your notes or on the back side. I want you to do this question on your own. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Make sure you're silently working. Okay, you should be about done by now. So you should have 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So it's 2 times 3.14, 7 squared. We have 7 and 13. And your final answer you should have gotten 879.2 inches squared. Okay, here's your next one. Again, this one's on your notes, but I want you to very carefully notice and think about what the radius here is. Again, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to solve this one on your own. Okay, you should be about done by now. You should have 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. That's 2 pi. I'm just going to leave pi to make this go quicker. But the radius here is 5 squared. Okay, this right here is diameter, so radius would be half of that. Then 2 pi 5 times 11. It's on its side, but the height is still this. In your final answer, you should have 502.4 centimeters squared. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to just go ahead and leave this video up and pause it. Sorry, that was a bell. Just go ahead and pause the video and leave it here, and I want everybody to do these 6 problems. This is like your ticket out the door. You could just do it on the back side of your notes, because you're going to turn your notes in for a grade anyway. So go ahead and do these 6 problems and then check with the substitute, and they can tell you if you have one wrong and which ones, and then just go back and fix any that you have incorrect. Make sure you're working quietly, use your calculators, and then when you're done, return them. Again, nobody leaves the class until we make sure that all the calculators are back except for 2. I'll see you guys Monday. Have a great weekend.